Hi everyone, I'm Liam Eagle. I'm the editor at the Web Host Industry Review, and I would like to welcome you to another of our WER webinars. Today's session is called ICANN Accreditation, the Need of the Hour for Web Hosts, and it's going to feature a presentation from Siddarth Talyian, Senior Sales Manager of LogicBoxes. So I'm gonna hand control over to him in a minute, and he'll introduce himself properly. I'm actually gonna try to pass him the controls while I introduce this, so that if you hear a little hesitation in my speech, I might just be distracting myself. But before we go any further, I would like to take care of a couple of housekeeping items. So first of all, questions. We're going to save a few minutes at the end of the session for you to submit your questions, or rather for me to put your questions to Siddarth, but you can feel free to submit questions throughout the session using the question function in the webinar software. I will be keeping an eye on those throughout, but as far as actually putting the questions to him, I will leave that until the end. If you do ask a question and it doesn't get answered because we run out of time, or maybe it's a bit too specific to address in the broader context of the webinar, we will have a record of all the questions that were asked and who asked them and how to reach you, and so somebody will reach out to you after the webinar and get that question answered for you. Or if you have a question you'd rather just ask outside of the public forum, there will be some contact info on screen during the Q&A period that we have at the end. So, excuse me. As always, there will be a video archive of the webinar online as of about the end of this week. So if you want to revisit a slide or a particular section of the presentation or share it with somebody else, it will be in the archives at thewer.com/webinars as of, I would say, by the end of this week is a good bet. It'll be there alongside a lot of our other great past webinars, so that's definitely worth a look. Without any further ado, I would like to get things started by turning them over to Siddarth. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time out and be a part of this webinar. Well, I represent LogicBoxes, and LogicBoxes has been in the industry for more than 9 years, and our main focus is ICANN accreditations for domain reseller companies and web hosting companies globally. Today's presentation is focused towards hosting industry in a way that ICANN accreditation is actually the need of the hour for all the web hosts globally. And we're going to take a look at how ICANN accreditation could be beneficial to all the web hosts. So before we actually dig deeper, let's take a look at some of the very interesting trends in the industry. Market leaders in the hosting space, such as HostGator, DreamHost, and some of the other major hosting companies have been changing the way the hosting industry works. Traditionally, what we have seen is that hosting providers provide with pure hosting service to their customers. However, these market leaders are now bundling their hosting services along with domain names and other allied products. What that does is it gives their customers a complete experience and also allows them to have a higher customer retention and a higher customer acquisition rate. The domain name industry is changing, and with the advent of new GTLDs, there's going to be a direct impact on the hosting industry as well. In this new era of GTLDs, ICANN accredited registrars are going to play a major role. These registrars are going to benefit from this era in a way of massive windfall opportunities. Now, each TLD that's going to get rolled out is going to have a sunrise period, it's going to have a land rush period, and there are going to be a lot of opportunities to generate revenues. Not just that, there are going to be a lot of geo-specific TLDs that are going to be rolled out. And if you are a web hosting company who specializes in a certain region and has the numbers, then you can each of these new TLDs are going to come out with a good number of marketing grants, because each of these TLDs are going to fight for the market share in the industry, and the registrars are going to benefit directly from these grants. So when we look at these trends, it becomes quite obvious that ICANN accreditation is the need of the hour for web hosting companies. Now let's try and understand what is ICANN accreditation. ICANN accreditation, simply put, is a certificate from ICANN for you to sell domain names. It allows you to be responsible for a piece of the internet and moves you up the food chain. Now, what does that mean? Let's try and understand that through the graphic here. On your screen right now, you see model A and model B. These are the models in a scenario where you are not accredited with ICANN and you are reselling domains from a service provider. In model A, you may be buying domains from a registrar who is in turn buying domains from a registry. So you are actually paying for the profit margins of the registrar when you're buying a domain. In model B, you are buying a domain from a reseller who is in turn buying it from a registrar. So in this case, you are paying for the profit margins of a reseller as well as a registrar. However, when you become ICANN accredited, you are buying directly from the registry. So you're buying every domain at the base cost. So this is what ICANN accreditation does in brief. Okay, so when we understand what is ICANN accreditation, the next question would be, why should I get accredited? What are the benefits? The first benefit of accreditation is the cost advantage. As we saw in the graphic earlier, you are buying directly from the registry at the base cost. So, as you can see in the table, to your left-hand side, you have all the GTLDs, the top GTLDs lined up, and you have the typical reseller cost per domain per year. So it is roughly $10. Is that what you pay for a domain as a reseller? However, on your right-hand side of the screen, you would see that if you are buying directly from the registry, you can save anywhere between 20 to 40% on every single domain name. And that's what gives you the edge as far as cost advantage is concerned. Apart from a direct cost advantage, there are certain revenue advantages as well. Registry promos or promotions are the promotions that are rolled out by registries time and again. All the major registries globally come out with these promotions which are intended towards registrars. Registrars benefit directly from these promotions and pass some benefits over to their resellers, or they keep the profits themselves. To give you some examples, in 2011 alone, registrars enjoyed a lot of benefits in form of promotions. A certain TLD for as low as $1, a premium for say around $6, a 50% discount on new registrations, and much more. These promotions are available to all the registrars irrespective of their size or location. So if you are a smaller hosting company or a big hosting company, it really doesn't matter. If you get ICANN accredited, you will be eligible to get all of these promotions. Apart from promotions, these registries come out with a lot of marketing grants as well. These marketing grants are intended to market the TLDs as such, and registrars are the right channel to do so. Typically, what we've seen is that these marketing grants can go up to $140,000 a year. And these marketing grants can also come in other ways, like an upfront discount on domains per se. This marketing grant, it becomes really important with the advent of new GTLDs, because you're going to have a lot of registries that will go live at the same time. And all of those TLDs would fight for the same market space and thereby spend more on marketing in the initial phase. Only registrars would be eligible for these grants, and they will definitely leverage a lot out of these opportunities. Another advantage of getting accredited is the post-expiry handling of a domain. Now let's try and understand this. As a domain reseller, if your domain expires, either the customer can renew it. If the customer doesn't renew the domain may get deleted and go back to available pool, where they may be grabbed by auction houses. However, in the case of an ICANN accredited registrar, there are a lot of opportunities to monetize that domain. So if you look at the graphic here, when the domain expires, it can be parked. Now parking means monetization of that domain. Now if the customer chooses to renew that domain, that's good. If the customer doesn't want to do that, you have the option of smart parking. So by smart parking, you can continue to monetize that domain. If there are other bidders available who want to buy that domain, you can auction it out through the transfer fulfillment process. So smart parking and transfer fulfillment are two revenue sources that only ICANN accredited registrars have today. Apart from these costs and revenue advantages, there are a lot of branding advantages that come along with accreditation, like increased marketability. Now, domain names have long been considered as an entry point or a foot in the door. Typically, in a business model, a customer would first buy a domain name and then probably go ahead and buy a hosting package. So it's always good to have a domain name at a competitive price on your site. Also, domains are available at a much cheaper price than a hosting package. So a domain may cost, say, roughly around $10 per year, which is an easier sell than a hosting package, which could be around $5 a month. Now, you can go ahead and go global with your accreditation. You can target international markets. You can actually target these markets by building reseller channels. Now, I, as a hosting company, could be sitting in California and may have a reseller channel in Vietnam, for example. And I can still do business because I am ICANN accredited and I'm accepted globally. Differentiation is critical here because there are hundreds and thousands of resellers out there, but there are very handful ICANN accredited registrars today. Now, when we talk about ICANN accredited registrar, there are two terms that come along with it, trust and stability. The reason why these terms are associated is that the process of getting accredited with ICANN involves ICANN reviewing your business application and your technical application. They thoroughly go through your business models, how you're placed, your financials. They also go through how competitive you are on the technical front. And only when they are convinced that you can actually perform as a registrar that they give you the approval to get accredited. So after going through this grind, it really gives a lot of trust and stability in front of customers. Now, Whois is actually, you can call it like a free tool that helps you promote your business. All the registrars today leverage this free marketing tool to get the word out. What it actually does is, whenever someone does a Whois query on your domain name, your name would appear next to the registrar, and the person would know that the registrar for this domain name is XYZ, and that promotes your brand. Apart from that, it also helps you to boost sales of your allied products. Your allied products could be mail, it could be website builder, it could be digital certificates, because once the customer starts buying domains and hosting from you, that customer would typically want to also have a website. So you can boost sales of your allied products with your accreditation. ICANN accreditation gives you ultimate control and security. Now, what does that mean? Ultimate control relates with freedom from registrar policies. Now, let me give you an example here. I'm sure that everyone is aware of redemption grace period of a domain name. Now, to actually redeem that domain, there is a certain fee that needs to be paid. Some registrars inflate that fee when they give it to resellers. However, as a reseller, I'm paying a lot more than what I should be paying. And this was just one example of what policies registrars have these days. And when you are the registrar, you make those policies that suit you the best. So it gives you a lot of freedom that way. With respect to security, registrar-level domain locking is essential when you have customers that require special attention. For example, there could be a domain that's of very high value, or there could be a customer that's of very high value. you really don't want any unauthorized access to that domain name. So you can do so by having registrar level domain locking, which, by the way, you don't have that option as a reseller. Now, as a hosting company, you may be reselling domains from multiple registrars today. And when you become accredited, you would have all of those domains come under your registrar brand. So in a way, you consolidate all your domains under your brand name. And it also gives you access to all the registry commands, emails, and notifications. So what it does is it creates a channel between you and the registry, and you can directly talk to the registry at any point of time. This really helps in making your business plans, in communicating with your customers, what needs to go out, what needs to go in. It's really helpful. So when we look at all of these benefits, you typically own your customers completely. And not just that, you can actually treat your VIP domains deservingly. Now, what does that mean? When you have complete control over your business and your domains, you can choose to have a red carpet support for your VIP domains, for example, or you may choose to have security policies for these VIP domains. So you can decide what's good for your customers. Now, another advantage of being an ICANN accredited registrar is that you become a part of the industry policy formation. Now, what that means is that you would be involved with ICANN in the decision-making process. Now, this is very important because we are talking about new GTLDs getting rolled out next year. There are a lot of decisions that are being taken within ICANN that is going to impact the industry for the next 5 to 10 years. And it's the time when you got to be out there being a part of that policy formation, being a part of that discussion, and giving your inputs to ensure that whatever changes happen in the future, they benefit the hosting industry. Okay, so we have looked at some broad advantages of accreditation. Let's look at how is it that I can get accredited. Let's look at the documents that you would need. So typically, you would just need to fill in an application form. You got to have a working capital to the tune of $70,000. Now, this is not a cost. This is not a fee. It's just that ICANN mandates that if you want to be a registrar, you got to have a working capital of $70,000 in your account. You've got to buy a CGL insurance that is worth $500,000. You've got to have your audited financial documents and a company incorporation certificate. As far as the costs are concerned, there is a one-time application fee of $3,500. There's an annual ICANN fee of $4,000. Now, this annual ICANN fee is applicable once you get accredited. And then there is a quarterly variable fee of $1,200, and there is a provision where you can get a waiver on that. And there's a standard ICANN per domain fee of 18 cents. All right, so as we have seen what it takes to get accredited, let's try and understand how LogicBoxes can help you. Now, LogicBoxes has been a pioneer in the industry for more than 9 years. And LogicBoxes is part of the DirectI group. LogicBoxes till date has 100% accreditation success rate. And it has accredited over 25% of all currently active registrars globally. LogicBoxes, apart from its consultancy, also has a platform that is a registrar automation platform. That platform is currently managing more than 8 million domain names and also being used by all our registrars. That's 100 plus registrars over 30 countries. Now let's take a look at the accreditation game. So what we'll do now is we'll first see what is the standard process of accreditation and then try and see how LogicBoxes plays a role in that. So let's start with you thinking of getting ICANN accredited. So what you would typically do is research the process, try and define the feasibility, try and get the required documents in place, and then you got to look for an insurance provider. You got to ensure that your application is in good shape, and then typically you would want to ask some questions to ICANN to ensure that everything that they need is a part of their application. Then you will finally submit that application. Then ICANN will review that application. ICANN will have its own set of questions, and you will have to respond to those questions. After a lot of these activities, to and fro communications, and there are going to be some delays in that as well, you would finally get accredited. Once you get accredited, you really can't go live immediately. After you get accredited, you would have to connect with each and every registry, do the OT&E tests, and once everything is cleared, then you can actually go live. Now, as you can see, we have marked some boxes that say delay in red. Each delay is approximately a month. So if you look at all of these boxes, it means that it is about 6 to 8 months of your time, effort, and money. But instead, you can have actually focused on your business all this time. So let's look at how LogicBoxes can help you. So let's start from the first step again. So you think of getting accredited. We as LogicBoxes execute a 360-degree feasibility report. Now what we do is we take your business model and we map it to what is needed for you to get accredited. And we create a feasibility chart that defines how feasible it is for you to get ICANN accredited today. And we share that with you. The next step is we assist you in collating all the documents in the required format. Now this might sound like a small step, but actually speaking, if you are doing it for the first time, getting documents in place is going to be a mess because there are so many different things that are needed in the specified format that is acceptable to ICANN. We have accredited so many registrars over the past 9 years that we have the experience of knowing which documents are needed at what level. Not just collecting documents, we also have a lot of experience in working with ICANN on multiple applications. So what you would ideally want to do is have a single iteration with you, and then we prepare an ICANN application. So we make sure if there are any loopholes, if there are any concerns that ICANN might raise during an application process, we might as well discuss it now rather than later. So once we send the application and you get accredited, we also do the liaising with the registries. So what that means is we would do all the OT&E tests. We'll connect your registrar credentials with all the registries and help you go live. Now, what we had seen earlier was that all of this process takes around 6 to 8 months, but with LogicBoxes, it would take around 2 months. Now, the only steps where you would need to put in some effort are in assisting in collating the documents and working with us on a single iteration. You would not be involved in the process apart from these 2 steps. So you can continue focusing on your business while we do the end-to-end consulting of working with ICANN and working with registries to ensure that your application is successful and you are ready to go live. So yeah, so you end up saving a lot of time, effort, and money. So the LogicBoxes value proposition in the whole process is ideally avoiding multiple iterations. Typically, when you are sending an application to ICANN and you do not have a lot of experience in accreditations, there will be multiple iterations between you and ICANN, and that could be really frustrating at times. The acceptance of our platform is critical here because in this application there are majorly some few sections that are important, but technical section of that document is really important. In the technical section, when ICANN sees LogicBoxes platform, it speeds up the process because they are already aware of the capabilities of our platform. Otherwise, ICANN likes to spend a lot of time in reviewing the technical part of the application because they want to be sure that this company has the right technology to function as a registrar. So our platform actually helps your chances of getting accredited. Over the years, we have been working with so many customers, and to be honest, we have made mistakes, and we have learned from those mistakes. And that's why now we have a very streamlined process, a foolproof process that allows us to interact with our customers, ICANN, and registries and ensure that everything goes on smoothly. Also, our solution is turnkey. So we take information from you, and then we take that information and do an end-to-end consulting to ensure that we give you the ICANN accreditation in 2 months. So you really don't have to engage in that process. Now, we are the only few companies globally today that give you a dedicated account manager. So it's like one person that you talk to for all your concerns. Typically, what we've seen is that companies provide with a very good 24/7 support system, but whenever you call, you have to tell your story 10 times to 10 different people before a resolution happens. But in our case, there's going to be one person who will take all your requests and ensure that you get the resolution as soon as possible. And that's why we like to call our service and support as a red carpet service and support, because it's really personal. It's not like a call center operation. So we've seen a lot of things about ICANN accreditation, how LogicBoxes can help. Now let's try and take a look at a sample case study of a hosting company and see how it actually benefited a hosting company. So let's assume Acme Hosting as a sample company, and established in 1999, and the primary business is web hosting with 30,000 domain names. Now, this hosting company, like any other hosting company, was facing some challenges. Challenges with reference to boosting the sales revenues, increasing the customer base, creating long-term relationships with their customers, and marketing their brand name. Primarily, they wanted to be the market leaders in a developing region, and these were the challenges that they were facing, and they need to overcome these challenges in some way to achieve their goals. So let's now see how accreditation helped this Acme hosting company with the challenges. So boosting the sales revenues, the first challenge was addressed through competitive pricing on domains. As an ICANN registrar, I buy the domains at the base cost, so I can sell the domain at a very competitive price compared to other resellers. Sales of allied products like site builders, it could be digital certificates, also contribute to your total sales and total revenues. Additional revenue channels opened up by ICANN accreditation like smart parking, transfer fulfillment, as we have seen in the earlier slides, add up to your revenues. It also helps to increase the customer base. So when we spoke about ICANN accredited registrar logo as being a symbol of trust and stability, it naturally leads to higher customer acquisition and retention rates because it is a symbol of trust. It also helps you to create long-term relationships with your customers. So like domains, there are other allied products that are sticky offerings. So it's not just hosting. There are a lot of products that a customer can actually buy from you and be a sticky customer. So about marketing their brand name, Whois, which was a free marketing tool available to all the registrars, played a big role because now they consolidated all their domains under their brand. They were able to promote their brand through Whois, and people actually able to be aware of the fact that there is a registrar who is actually giving out domains at a very competitive price and is actually a web hosting company. So it is easier for someone to buy all the products from a single person rather than going to multiple people for multiple services. So by addressing these challenges, it swiftly rose to become a market leader in the region. Now let's look at who this Acme hosting sample Acme hosting company is. It is IHS Telecom. It is an ICANN accredited registrar. And it is one of the biggest ISPs in Eastern Europe. I'm sure that most of you must have heard of IHS Telecom sometime or the other. So where are they now? They are the third largest registrar in Turkey, and they manage over 175,000 domains. If you remember a couple of slides back, when they started getting accredited, they were sitting at 30,000 domains. So there's a nearly 500% increase in domain portfolio post-accreditation. And these guys are industry ready as far as new GTLDs are concerned, because new GTLDs are going to come up with a lot of opportunities in the year 2013, 14, and 15. And these guys, as they're already accredited, they are ready to leverage those benefits. So let's try and conclude this webinar, what we have discussed. So ICANN accredited registrar has higher domain name sales, higher hosting sales, the branding goes up, and gives you greater control and security over your domains. The only thing that goes down is the cost, which is a good thing. Plus, it gives you new revenue channels like transport fulfillment, domain parking, and smart parking, and we have seen these examples earlier. And it gives you increased reach and market presence. So now we can actually reach out globally, have a reseller channel in place, and much more. Now, ICANN accreditation is a good thing for web hosting companies. Actually a need of the hour. You should get accredited now rather than later. And partnering with a specialist like LogicBoxes makes all the more sense, because we have the experience and the expertise to ensure that your accreditation goes live in less than 2 months. And we also give you a registrar automation platform so that once you go live, you can start functioning as a registrar from day one. And we do this end-to-end consulting in a very turnkey fashion. So we actually help you lower the cost, shorten your time to market, and avoid distraction from hosting business. So you can focus on your business while we take care of your application. So on this note, I would like to close the presentation. You can send us an email if you have any questions, or you can visit our website, www.logicboxes.com, and I'll be open for questions.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. So I've got a couple questions from the attendees here, and I'd like to also, before I start asking them, remind everyone else that if you've got any questions, feel free to submit them now through the question control panel. I'll definitely try to get to all the questions we have. So somebody asked, and you sort of touched on this a little bit by saying that, you know, ICANN really strictly goes through the technical requirements of operating a registrar when they're evaluating your application, and you said that, you know, LogicBox's turnkey system can alleviate that scrutiny because ICANN is familiar with your systems and that they trust your systems. Can you tell us a little bit more about what exactly they are looking for? Like, for instance, if I was to go and say, okay, you know, I'm going to build the systems myself and not use something like your platform, can you tell us what some of those requirements are? The technical requirements?
Okay, so the technical requirements is actually a huge section in the entire application. What ICANN is trying to do primarily is ensure that you have the technology to make your registrar operation a success. So they'll have a lot of questions with regards to how the system should ideally work. And if your system is not compliant with those concerns, then ICANN would not be able to proceed with your application. And there are a lot of ICANN compliances that are involved in the process, because technology is key to this business, and ICANN ensures that whichever application comes through has to have the right technology as per the compliance. So that's why we say that our platform, being out in the market for the last 9 years, is widely accepted, because we have time and again demonstrated that our platform is capable of running registrar operations the way they are supposed to.
Okay. So we had another question that was about, you mentioned earlier on in the presentation that there were, you know, sometimes domains, and this may be more the case during the new TLDs that are the greater bulk of new TLDs that come out, but that they occasionally issue, you know, co-marketing grants, and they will provide marketing funds to registrars. Can you tell us a bit about how those funds are distributed, and what a registrar might have to do to you know, be on the receiving end of those, and how widely they're distributed, how small a registrar they might distribute them to?
Okay, so first of all, these marketing grants are issued solely to increase sales. So each registry actually focuses on specific markets. There could be, for example, a geo registry who would only focus on a certain geography. So in that case, they would rather give the marketing grants to registrars in that geography. There could be other TLDs who have a global presence, but in a way they only target certain markets in that global presence. And they would want to give the grants to those registrars whom they think will provide them with the numbers. So there's really no specific formula here. It's just that if the registry wants to expand and wants to have more sales, the registry would typically get in touch with registrars who have the potential to give them good business.
Okay. So is there something that you can do to sort of make the registries believe that you have that potential?
Oh, okay. Well, actually, it clearly depends on the kind of numbers that you bring in. Honestly speaking, if the growth of your registrar company is good, then definitely registries will want to work with you, especially in the developing markets, wherein they see a lot of potential for growth and they need the right partners who are growing exponentially in that region. So that's an example for you.
Okay. So this is kind of okay. Well, let me ask you this first of all. So if you're working with or if once you've accomplished the ICANN accreditation, can you talk about what exactly is involved in developing? Do you have to develop the? I guess you can address this from the, you're using the LogicBoxes platform, and then you can address it from the, you're trying to do it yourself standpoint. But are you responsible then for going and establishing a relationship with each of the registries of the domains that you want to sell? And does that include country code domains?
Well, country code domains are not under the purview of ICANN, so I wouldn't want to take that up right now. But as far as connecting with the registry is concerned, post-accreditation, if you're working with LogicBoxes, we'll do it for you. If you're not working with us, then you will have to do it yourself. Does that answer your question?
Okay, so you just sort of identify the registries that you want to sell the domains of, and then you just go and build that relationship with them. And can you talk a little bit about, I mean, is there a pretty standard process there? Is that a difficult thing to negotiate?
Well, actually, registries have their own standards. So when we talk about OT&Es, these are tests that are performed to ensure that there is a seamless integration between the registry platform and the registrar platform. So if you're using a platform that may be in-house or maybe not a widely recognized platform, then you may have certain concerns from the registry, and registry may not really approve of that platform and give you a certificate to go live. So it is better off to have a platform that's widely recognized, because it really helps connecting to these registries. Otherwise, it's going to be a lot of to and fro communication, and you fixing problems in your system, and the go live date just gets pushed far and far away.
Okay, so I had actually written down a question that I think a couple people have submitted here is I guess given the formula that you described, where there's a $4,000 a year ICANN fee to run a registry, and then there's a $3,500 application fee. I mean, is there a sort of bottom limit for how many domains you should have under management? I know you also said that there are all kinds of additional benefits. You're going to sell more hosting, you're going to sell more domains, but I mean, given the savings per domain, is there just a sort of a bottom limit of you have, let's say, 5,000 domains under management that makes this sort of a feasible process for you, or is there? I mean, do you have a specific number that you think?
Well, ICANN accreditation is not about numbers as far as deciding whether to go for an accreditation is concerned. There is no bottom limit to that. ICANN accreditation is more of a strategic decision. Let's say that you may have fewer domains, but you want to invest in a new market and you want to grow. Then ICANN accreditation makes sense, because it's to grow rapidly. It will allow you to grow faster than the other resellers in the region. In the other case, when you have a higher volume of domains, it makes more sense because you will be saving a lot of money that you're currently paying to your reseller or your registrar, and you can maybe leverage that and invest that money into marketing activities. So in both the cases, it makes a lot of sense to get accredited.
Okay. So, I mean, not to sort of press the point, but is there a sort of, I mean, I guess, maybe that the capital on hand is one limiting factor, but is there sort of a size that you would consider to be too small to go through this process?
Well, as I said, it depends on what is the strategy behind this. Let's take an example. Let's say if the reseller has, say, 2,000 domain names, and is really not strategically thinking, then it doesn't really make sense. If they're just looking at reducing costs right now as a short-term goal, then definitely it's not for them. It is for those resellers who may be having fewer domains but have a strategy in place and have a long-term vision which they would like to realize by getting accredited now. In short term, this accreditation becomes an investment, but in the long term, it gives you the revenues. However, in the case of resellers who are, say, 8,000 domains or more than 8,000 domains, it makes clearly a perfect sense because they can actually start saving from day one.
Right. Okay. So it has a real strategic value.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just scanning through the questions, and there are maybe like 4 or 5 versions of that particular question because I think that that's certainly something that a lot of hosts are probably facing when they're addressing this question, right? So another question that we had sort of planned to ask was, LogicBoxes, you said has a really great track record in terms of successful accreditation, right? I think you said you've succeeded with 100% of the attempts you've made to get hosting providers accredited. Do you have a guarantee that you can successfully accredit a hosting business?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, we have the success rate because the kind of business practices that we follow, where we ensure that whatever application we take up is duly filled in, it is as per the standards, our platform is doing good. So we have that confidence of getting you an accreditation if you need one. And our offering also comes along with a money-back guarantee. So it's like this, we actually charge a very nominal consulting fee to take up this whole process. And if you're not able to do that, we'll give your money back. So it's more of like a pretty good guarantee on paper.
Okay. I guess one thing I'd like to hear a bit more about is the way that your registrar platform works, what it provides, and how a person who would become accredited might use that to sort of operate their registry business or their sort of registrar business.
Right. So our registrar automation platform can be implemented in different ways. Typically, what we see is that registrars go for an API integration. So they connect to our backend system, which connects to the registry through the API. And by the way, we have the API toolkits available for them to do so. So on the front end, they have their regular business going on, but for domains, they connect to us and we connect to the registry. So this is a typical model which has worked well for most of the registrars today.
Okay. And so can you talk about how, I mean, you've talked about a lot of the costs that are involved in the application process. Are there any hidden costs involved in that process, or can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, as far as ICANN is concerned, there are no other hidden costs in the process. And the good thing about accreditation is that there are really no hidden costs. Whatever you saw in the presentation is all there is to it.
Okay. I guess, I mean, do you have any sort of advice for somebody who might say, hey, this is, the advantages to this are sort of obvious, but do you think that we might be too focused or too wrapped up, or our time is sort of required elsewhere right now? Sorry, I think that question is probably pretty clear.
Yeah. I think we hear that a lot of times because hosting companies are typically busy selling hosting, so they typically don't have time for domains as such. And accreditation, sounds like a process which will take up a lot of their time and effort. So this is where we specialize. We take up your application and we take it from point A to point B. In a way, we can also call it end-to-end consulting, in which we allow you to focus on your business. So we're really not going to eat up into your time. And that is why we are here. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense for us to have this offering.
Okay. I guess, so this is a really interesting question that just came out, actually. So somebody asked, what if they sort of engage with you guys around the accreditation process, but they don't really have a business plan for what they intend to do with the registrar business? Can you help them with that?
Okay, now that's really interesting. What we would like to do is, in this specific question, there are many more things that we would like to know, because this is a very open-ended question as to we don't know what to do with it. But if we could connect with the person who has asked this question and maybe take this conversation with that person offline, maybe that would be better, because there are many other things that are involved in the process, and it won't be justified for me to give an answer right now.
Okay, that makes sense. So in the process, you mentioned that they'll need to have I guess in sort of assessing the costs, you mentioned that they'll have to have $500,000 of insurance. Do you think that you can, sorry, can you give a ballpark for what they might have to spend on that insurance?
Okay, so typically what we have seen is that if you're buying this insurance from US, the premium comes out to be $500 a year per annum. So that's what we have seen.
Okay. So somebody asked if you can explain the technical aspects of the certificate sorry, the certificate that you refer to in terms of the GTLD registries as not being the same as CCTLDs?
Okay. So if there is a question with respect to technical questions, I think it's better we take it offline, because there are a lot of questions, and we would like to understand what is it that they're actually looking for. All of them, or a certain subset of those questions? And
okay.
It is different from CCTLD.
Sure. So
it's not the same.
I would like to remind everybody that some of these questions are pretty technical, or are pretty specific, and that if you did submit a question, it will definitely you'll definitely get some follow-up from LogicBoxes after the webinar.
Definitely. You can shoot us an email at sales@logicboxes.com, and we'll get in touch with you ASAP.
Okay, great. Well, that's about all the questions that I had planned out that I wanted to ask. I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to, that you would like to touch on that we haven't covered yet, or?
Well, I think I'm very happy to see that there have been so many questions, and it's just that it's always good to see people joining in, asking questions. It always makes it better. So
sure.
I would like to end the presentation from my end.
Sure, we do definitely appreciate everyone attending, obviously, and everyone submitting the questions. A lot of times in a case like this, you'll get certainly you'll have specific questions that relate specifically to your business, and hopefully we will hopefully be able to create opportunities for you to get the answers to those questions after the fact. I guess this is probably a good time to wrap things up. Again, I would really like to thank everyone very much for attending. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted questions, and also to those of you who did not submit questions. Of course, thanks to Siddarth for taking us through a subject that I think, as the as the description of the webinar points out, is a pretty relevant and timely issue for hosting providers right now. So thanks again, everyone, and I'd like to just remind you again that a replay of this webinar, a video archive, will be online at thewere.com/webinars as of later this week. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.